You can't talk terrifying without bringing up Pazuzu. Here's your spooky spot on the Kidrobot The Exorcist 13-inch Regan plush. From the classic horror film The Exorcist, this 13-inch collectible plush from Kidrobot proves what your mother always said. Keep making that face and it'll get stuck like that. But we think that Regan is just the cutest little possessed girl ever. Still, you might want to keep a mop and bucket ready in case she starts feeling queasy again, made from the softest premium plush materials. Are you guys all ready for something spooky again? Before we get a closer look at the Exorcist Regan 13-inch plush, let me go ahead and thank the folks first over at Kidrobot that did provide the sample we could have a look at. Now, Regan is available in two sizes, the slightly smaller size, or if you'd like to go all out. This medium-sized plush is available over on their site for $34.99. The plush of Regan stands 13 inches. Oh, how about that? Lucky number 13. Or it's going to stand about 33 centimeters tall. My paranormal pal Charlie the Ghost is a big fan of The Exorcist, and the only reason why I brought up Chuck in the first place was his fact that we are getting now a new Exorcist movie on the silver screen. I'm not really sure how honestly I feel about a brand new Exorcist movie, or the fact that it's planned to be branched out into a trilogy. I feel like that's something could have easily been handled on its own. We all kind of know how a rebooted franchise works as it's done as a trilogy. I'm looking in your direction, Halloween trilogy. But either way, though, as we have a closer look at The Exorcist Regan, one thing I have already done, and I have not actually already done, is remove the tag on the side. Depending on what collectibles I have from Kidrobot, sometimes I actually end up just keeping the tag in place. But it's just once again to show you a slightly smaller image of what Regan looks like with all the puke covered all over her body. And of course, this is recommended for ages 17 and up with the website for Kidrobot at www.kidrobot.com. The other side has a really rather interesting, frightful face of Regan staring at you. And of course, the ever-classic stairway. At some point, I would love to take a trek down that stairway, obviously walking down and not falling down the stairs. But of course, that little tag's there. I'm not really sure whether I'm going to remove it or not. Regan herself, and in her demonic state, of course, is very heavily colorful. The colors, of course, are mostly here in green as she's puking up some of it. It's left behind her mouth and it's unfortunately all over her nightgown. Very classic, of course, the way it looks in the movie. The thing I really also like about this is the fact it has a real demonic look to it. I mean, you wouldn't really want a normal Regan anyways. You'd want the one that's fully possessed by Pazuzu. The hair, as you can see, is something that's stitched on separately. It's actually using sort of more of a felted material, but even like the hair itself has a little bit of padding to it, so it's not completely just flat. It does have the bangs, of course, running across her face, some of which actually are covering over the markings that she has on her face, a few little scars there on the top of her head, not to mention some visible scars there across the nose and the cheek area as well. She has really quite a sinister look to her face. I love the way that they've stitched on the eyes. So instead of actually just printing it in place, like sometimes what they do with plushies, they've rather instead actually stitched on the eyes, completely with the big, very large yellow eyes staring at you. Of course, the rest of the plush is quite soft and plushy, as would be expected. The arms and the legs themselves allow her obviously in a seated position. And I think she holds okay that seated position. Every once in a while, I may be looking over at her and her head seems to be just swayed off to the side. And then I kind of just look around to see where I have my neighboring cross. The plush itself also does have, like I said, the nightgown. The nightgown seems to be something almost that could be removed. If you were to say look at it, it looks like it'd be able to roll up off her sleeves, off her arms, and you'd be able to take it off. Obviously, just the size of her head, you wouldn't be able to even do that. But I'm actually surprised to see that they didn't just simply stitch the nightgown onto the body, or even like sew it in place anyways, so that there'd be no way to actually remove it. There is quite a lot, though, of vomit all over her collar. Ooh, and all over the front of her. The best way I could probably describe it is like the color of pea soup, which I think they have actually used in the movie to replicate the puke and the vomiting that she does do quite a lot in the movie. One thing, though, while she does have the stain behind a barf, she doesn't have any other stainage that she would also have had in the movie. So you don't have to worry about your carpets, for example. But it's quite a large plushie, though. I might have even just said like the smaller one would have been more ideal if you are one that likes to collect, for example, stuffies, and you really don't have a lot of the available space. I keep calling these stuffies just because, again, like my daughter collects a whole lot, and she always calls them stuffies. These may not be. Regan may not be a stuffy I'm going to be giving my daughter to be having displayed on her shelf with the rest of her stuffed animals, because I'm sure waking up in the middle of the night and having this thing peering right at you probably would be a little bit more terrifying for a child to see in the middle of the night. Heck, it would be terrifying for an adult of my age to be waking up in the middle of the night and just happen to be looking over to go get myself a glass of water and I see this thing staring at me. What's ironic about that, though, as I could swear to you, I had put Regan over here. And then, of course, when I get up in the middle of the night, she just happens to be right over here looking right at me. But again, it's an interesting looking plush, a large size one as well. Like this one, again, is 13 inches in height. And it goes on sale over on their site for $34.99. So I think that's not a bad price at all when it comes to really the plushies and plush animals, plush characters that Kidrobot does sell over on their site. Again, if you are a big fan of the Exorcist movie, whether it be the original trilogy, the prequels, that of course, the 2 prequels that would follow shortly after that, or the newest trilogy that they're planning to do, which again, I don't really think that necessarily needed to have a trilogy. Why could we not have just had one rebooted movie? It kind of just leaves things completely open with the expectation that the first movie really isn't going to necessarily end on a solid note where you know the movie isn't going to go any further. You know they're going to cliffhanger it off to whatever the second and third movie will be. Hopefully, though, at the end, Pazuzu isn't just defeated by some annual pie. Anybody that watches the original Halloween trilogy will know what I'm talking about. But all in all, though, it's an interesting looking plush. If you don't mind the idea that this creepy little girl is staring right at you, she'd be a fun piece to pick up if you get the chance to grab one for yourself. Quick, a show of satanic hands. How many people are actually interested in the new Exorcist trilogy? Oh, wow, actually half the room has already got their hands up. I am generally interested. I'll still see the movies when they come out. But having seen already the way that Blumhouse handled the Halloween trilogy, I can only imagine what's going to end up happening with Exorcist Ends. Is Pazuzu just been living in somewhere, some sort of sewer lair, and gets rolled over? Somebody steals his statue and just decides to be possessed by somebody else. Can't even imagine. We all joke about that. But seeing the hands that they had with Halloween, what kind of thing are they going to be doing with The Exorcist? I still feel like the movie really only needs to have a first movie and only movie. It doesn't really need to branch out. Now, obviously, the original Exorcist had 3 movies, and let's all face facts. The Heretic was horrible. I actually did like Exorcist 3. So there was, of course, sandwiched in the middle of Heretic, there was at least a good Exorcist on the first and the third movie. Now, we won't even talk about the prequels. But yeah, I'll hold out hope that the Exorcist movies are good. But again, based on the hands that they're in right now, I'm not holding out a lot of hope, though. What do you guys think, though, of the Pazuzu possessed Regan? Is this a plush that you guys could see yourselves picking up for yourself? If, again, you guys are interested, you can click the link down below. That will take you on over to Kidrobot's website. Speaking of which, though, I'd like to thank the folks over at Kidrobot that did provide the sample of the 13-inch tall stuffed Regan. I'm sure she's stuffed with evil. And I would say she's stuffed with barf, but most of it's already all over her outfit anyway, so she's probably not even stuffed with barf. Can we just, stop talking about vomit and barf and promise we'll stop talking about it? I mean, again, this was only really started because I brought up Chuck and my Charlie friend Ghost over there. But if you guys certainly enjoyed this video, want to hit a like. If you guys are loving the content, why not? And then like to certainly stick around for more. We are, by the way, going to be looking at some more spooky-related videos. That's not stopping anytime fast. So, of course, if you want to ensure that you're not missing out on any of that, hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. There's going to be definitely a lot more ghoulish videos coming your way. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.